To Enterprise Qatar's strategic marketing. Well, please come in. Strategic marketing seminar. Good to see you. My name is Robert Madronic. I'm going to sort of go through the first couple of PowerPoint slides, basically just to orient you to what we're going to be doing today and for the next 4 days. And then we'll sort of get started going around the room and introducing all of you and getting to know each other a little bit. So, if first thing we'll do is move this chair out of our way. Okay, so this is titled Welcome to Marketing Strategies for Small Business. I'll introduce myself for now, just so you sort of know a little bit about me. My name is Robert Madronic. I teach marketing and entrepreneurship here at CNA, so I think I'm qualified to teach you folks. I have an undergraduate degree in urban geography, and I worked my very first business I started when I was an undergraduate student. I was in real estate, and I started my business basically through a need that I saw in the market to provide real estate for students and give them the kind of service that students really wanted. At the time, you could either rent at the university or you could rent from what I called at the time adults, which I guess I am now, but oftentimes adults sort of looked at teenagers and university students not as the best customers, and they didn't really treat them as the best customers. So what I started doing is I would go to these houses and I would rent out a whole house. So let's say this is a 4-bedroom house. I would rent out this house for, let's say, $1,000 a month. But I knew that I could rent out individual bedrooms for $300, sometimes $400 a month. So the very first house I rented out, it was like a 4-bedroom house. I rented it for $1,000, and then I rented out the rooms for $325 or more, and I ended up making about $500 a month doing that. And I quickly realized that the reason people were renting from me had nothing to do with the house. They wanted a landlord who understood them. They wanted a landlord that they went to school with. And they wanted a landlord who wasn't giving them a lot of rules like their parents. And so that's sort of how I started my business. I then went on and did my master's degree in business in marketing. I also did first year of a master's of science in consumer studies, which is basically sort of the research side of marketing. And I started teaching after that. And I'm now currently finishing off my thesis doing a doctorate in business administration, marketing, and entrepreneurship. So I sort of have a lot of the practical experience as well as some of the teaching experience, and I would say too much of the education. It's starting to get to be a little bit much. So that's a little bit about me. I'll tell you a little bit about the course, and then we'll hear a little bit about you. This 4-day course will focus on an overview of marketing strategies for small business. So essentially we'll talk about marketing in general as it applies sort of to everyone, and then our discussions will bring that information into how we can better use it for small businesses. We'll practice the application of market research principles. We won't be doing that today. We'll do that probably our second or third day. We'll participate in applied learning, which is essentially what the books you have there. Doing exercising, identifying the sort of targets and the strategic plans that you might have for your business that you've either started already or in the process of starting. And we'll use principles and practices gained throughout the course. By the end, we should have at least the bare bones of a high-level draft of a marketing plan for your organization. Now, if you don't actually have sort of narrowed down what sort of company you want to start, that's fine. We can explore that through the process here, or you can just pick something at random and work towards it just as an exercise, and it's something you can always replicate with another business. I found once I started my very first business, some of the other businesses I started off later were a little bit easier because I knew the planning process. Okay, are there any questions about this so far? Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm not going to read all of this. Suffice it to say that I have the course broken down into 11 steps. The first couple of steps are introduction to marketing, creating and capturing customer value. This is basically just an introduction to the background of marketing for people who may not know a lot about marketing. Marketing in society, we'll talk a little bit about social responsibility and marketing ethics. Consumer and business buyer behavior, so basically the kind of things that people think and do while they're doing their purchasing, and that helps us as entrepreneurs and marketing people, because if we understand what people are thinking, it's much easier to kind of get in their head and give them what they want. And then somewhere around 4 and 5, the marketing plan elements, where we'll start to talk about forming the background of our marketing plan. and analyzing the marketing environment for opportunity. We'll finish somewhere between 4 and 5 tonight, and that's sort of a natural place to end, and we'll pick up the rest of it in the next couple of days. So I won't go through the rest of it, but suffice it to say the rest of it is much more specific to your actual marketing plan. Excuse me. So, rules and format. We'll get through this really quick. We'll start at 4, more or less, inshallah. Hopefully we will get the whole group together for the next couple of days at 4. Fortunately, I've planned a little bit of extra time today, so we'll still be able to finish around 9 p.m. And it's Sunday till Wednesday in this room this week. We'll break at approximately 6 and 8 for prayer and snack, whenever. You guys give me the signal, basically. It's good for me either way. Bathrooms are down the hall. You can use the bathroom whenever you want. You don't have to ask permission. I think we can manage that. Please turn off your phones as they're a distraction, and then at the same time tonight I'm wearing a microphone, so we don't want to be showing this at Enterprise Qatar and have background noise of people on the phones and so forth. But I will say, if you, as I do, have a family and you do need to keep in touch with them, if you do need to make a phone call, just step outside and do that. You're welcome to do that, of course. Or do what my students do. Say you're going to the bathroom and then make your phone call. That works out just fine too. And feel free to speak your mind. Oftentimes when we're doing classes like this, I'm from Canada, so most of my experience and most of my knowledge is Canadian, although my doctorate is from a French university, but those are both decidedly Western universities. And therefore my business perspective is predominantly a Western perspective. So a lot of the things I might say, I'm saying as though they are fact, when they're not really fact, they're more perspective, they're more opinion. So feel free to correct me, or even not to correct me, to say, in this part of the world, it's better to do things this way. I'm not going to be offended. My students during the day are very comfortable correcting me whenever I make a mistake. And unfortunately, we'll be recording my mistakes, so hopefully I'll still have a job at the end of the week if I make too many of them. Moving right along. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have an introductory icebreaker. Does anybody need any more time to work on this, or everybody's okay with this? Perfect. That's good planning on my part. Okay, so we're going to start at the back of the room, as I always do. I like to punish the folks who sit in the back. So if you want to give us your name, where you work or your business, what you hope to learn from this course, and your biggest business mistake and what you learned from it.
My name is Awa.
What?
I started my business in fashion and clothes accessories. I came to this course hoping that I would have a better marketing for my products, and I would have better pricing strategies. I would know the behaviors of the buyers and how to understand them well, to get the better product for my shop.
Excellent. Okay.
Still, my biggest mistake, I'm just starting, so I don't know.
You don't know because you have made so many? Is that what you're saying?
You're starting. You have to. You do a lot of mistakes. You learn from it. It's like every day you do a mistake.
Good.
You learn from it. But I don't think that there is a big mistake that.
Good, I'm glad to hear that. And you have the right attitude for an entrepreneur. We really all have to look at our mistakes as learning opportunities, because the reality is, like you said, we all make them. I won't say how old I am, I'm old enough, and I still make mistakes on a daily basis, and I try very hard to learn from them, sometimes successfully, sometimes not so much. Okay, next.
My name is Sayyid Muhammad Mudathir. I'm working in a glass factory. We are basically the glass manufacturer, and we have facilities, manufacturing in UAE and China. We went to China very early, 1990.
Okay.
And we have distribution companies all over the world, 14 countries, and one of them is Qatar. But in Qatar it's different, that we have a glass processing factory as well. So we have a huge customer base. And I'm the business unit head. So marketing comes under my jurisdiction.
Excellent.
And identifying the niche market, decide what segment we are going to facilitate and how we are going to facilitate them, building what is going to work in Qatar, identifying the right product actually. This all come into my jurisdiction actually. And then the biggest mistake we did in earlier, because this market is very price sensitive market in terms of glass and mirror business, and because we were bringing quality products, we were a bit at a higher price than the market. And for the launch, I believe that it was a big mistake. And we should have done some market research and then launch the product according to the market pricing, rather than pricing according to our break even or whatsoever.
Very good.
So this is what I have learned.
Excellent. Now, you're predominantly you sell glass into the construction industry?
Yeah.
Okay,
Commercial,
excellent.
industrial, all-purpose glass.
Okay, perfect. Good. Sometime today, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions because you'll have a lot to add. Next, down over here.
Hi. So my name is Shireen, and I work for Green Gulf, which is the first private renewable energy company in Qatar. And so we work a lot with mostly QF and other government entities on advising them and also project development for solar installations and carbon mitigation strategies. And I work primarily with the consulting and advisory side on the carbon mitigation aspect. But by virtue of it being a small team and myself being kind of the only person with the business background, the other people on the team are engineers. So kind of, I guess the marketing part of it, I handle a little bit as well. So that's why I wanted to just take a refresher, because even though I did take a business degree, my concentration was more on finance and general management rather than marketing. So I just wanted to refresh. And I've only been working for, I guess, a year and a half, so I wouldn't, thankfully nothing huge has blown up in my face just yet, cross my fingers, but I guess I'd say my biggest weakness just in general is I don't take notes very well whenever we go into meetings, which is crucial when it's just me and the client. I take really horrible notes, and so that's been my biggest weakness so far, and yeah, I need to work on that.
Okay, good. Okay, over here.
Hi, I'm Giselle. I work for Mahdi International. It's a beauty supply company in Qatar. 7 years ago, I'm a sales manager. I'm here to upgrade and to refresh my little knowledge. No major mistakes at the moment, but maybe few. Nothing major to talk about. Yeah.
Okay, good.
That's it.
All right, excellent.
Hello, I'm Ghanwa Khalil, and I work at Mayar Fashion, so in the field of fashion and ZNA. And I'm here mainly to learn how to promote our business, mainly, in a new country, new culture, and even if we have theoretical strategies, marketing strategies, basically, it's not the same in practice. So I want to know how we get to promote our business in a high competitive market, especially because we are selling fashion, every kind of clothes until shoes, bags, accessories. So even if you know the behavior of the customers, the culture, what they want or they desire, because it's not a need, it's mainly a desire, a product they want to have, but they can live without. So I want to know how to attract them in a high competitive market. This is the main purpose of the course, and also the best strategies I can work on. And the mistakes, every day we have mistakes in business. The mistakes are made in business, but the biggest one, I think, is when the customer is in front of us and we have this need to tell him yes for everything, and we do big promises, and after, when we are all alone, we are just finding solutions everywhere and trying to do our best to get to the target.
Excellent.
So this is it.
Okay. I used to make that very same mistake myself, but I actually have a bigger one in mind. So I've already mentioned my name, Robert Madronic. Where I work is here, and although because I'm not in Canada anymore, I don't have any more real estate holdings, I just invest in stocks and bonds because it's just easier. I'm lazy, what can I tell you? What I hope to learn from this course actually is I get to learn a little bit more about Enterprise Qatar, and because most of the training I do is with students, younger students who, many of whom have not actually had a real job, particularly in business, I can learn a little bit more about how business is done specifically in Qatar. So I sort of have the big grand view of things. You guys have the more local and your industry-specific knowledge, and hopefully we can sort of bring that back and forth with each other. Now, my biggest mistake is actually one that surprises a lot of people. When I was in real estate, I basically read a whole bunch of books about real estate, and I thought, I know how to do real estate now, so I went out and I did it. One of the things I didn't do, however, was research the laws that govern real estate in Canada, because Canada is a very liberal country, which means customers have a lot of extra rights that they may not have in other countries, and a lot of those rights really, from my perspective, don't make a lot of sense. And so what I found out was, if I rent a building to someone who is on welfare, so the Canadian government gives them free money because they don't have a job, if they don't pay the rent, I can sue them, but I can't collect the money. So I had somebody not pay their rent. I spent thousands of dollars to sue them, only to find out that legally I cannot take somebody who collects welfare, I cannot take their money. But at the same time, it is against the law to refuse to rent to somebody who is on welfare. So what I learned was that although there are advantages to living in Canada, one of the disadvantages of living in Canada is that we try so hard to protect the people who are most disadvantaged that we protect them a little bit too much to the point where it hinders business people. And so the result was I never invested in real estate for people of low income ever again. And if you know anything about Canadian real estate, you know that I'm not the only one. There's actually not a lot of people out there who will rent to people at the lower end of the economic level because, well, for a variety of reasons, but my guess is that's one of the significant ones. And that mistake was big because it's something I should have known when I did my research getting ready to start this business. It was also big financially because I lost a whole lot of money renting to those folks before I figured it out. So unfortunately, I did lose a lot of money, but I learned that you can never have too much information about your customers or about the environment in which you're operating. And so it's, I still make small mistakes now, but fortunately I've never made such a big mistake again because I sort of predict them. Or rather prepare for them. I try to predict them. Okay, so just to sort of get started, I'm going to take an entrepreneurial approach because I don't have internet access in this room. So the video I was going to show you, I'm not going to show you, but I will give you a little bit of a background. How many of you are wearing diamonds right now? Diamonds? Me. Me? Anybody else? Okay. Just two? Me. Three, okay. Okay, very good. Why do you think diamonds are so valuable?
It's not valuable.
Why do you say that?
Gold is valuable because you can, the price is, it doesn't differ with it. When you gain in gold, it will stay. It's like an investment.
Okay.
But in diamond, it's not. But for women, it's like a passion and love for diamond. It's not, because they give us the impression from the media, from everywhere, diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
It's a must. Even for the wedding ring, it's diamond. But as a pricing, it's not.
Yeah, when you think about it, a diamond is really just a rock, isn't it? And
even with time, it's not like investment in gold. If you buy like 10 carats of diamond, with time you don't guarantee the price of the gold.
that's right.
But you still buy it.
Yeah. Now you said you have a passion for diamonds. Were you born with that passion? If I find a baby just born, if I could somehow speak to that baby, would that baby say, "Give me diamonds"?
It's the media.
That's right.
When we buy something for our kids, and you have to take care of this piece. It's diamond, and we give them this the value of the diamond.
That's exactly right. This is one of the points of this video I was going to show you. It's an analysis of De Beers, one of the biggest diamond companies in the world. And way back when, only a handful of people found or thought the diamonds were valuable. And the idea was De Beers had all of these diamonds and they weren't selling them. So what they did was put out a marketing campaign to convince people that diamonds had value that, frankly, they really don't have. Diamonds are actually not as rare as you think they are. Have any of you heard about the diamond mine in, I think it's Siberia in Russia, that was just announced maybe 2 or 3 years ago? They have, in that one mine, the equivalent of 10 times the rest of the world in diamonds. So why hasn't the price changed? Because the De Beers marketing effort that's in this video, and if you want, you can look at it when you get home, it's actually called the world's second most successful advertising campaign. They basically set out to convince people that something with no value has value. And they've done a very good job, believe me, because my wife, if I gave her a ruby, why not a diamond is always what she would say. So I have to save up. Or I get her a diamond that's so small she can't see the quality of it. So this is the idea. The idea with marketing is that much of marketing works by convincing people of things. And so, for example, someone has to convince you that a pair of 2,000 rial glasses or a 700-pound bag has that sort of value, when in fact, if we think about it, it really doesn't have that. Does my watch have the value that I paid for it? Does my wallet that my wife gave me that cost her about $800, is it worth it? It's really just the skin of a dead cow. I don't think that's really worth that much money. But someone convinced us that it is, and they took my wife's money. So that's really the background for what we want to learn about marketing. Now, I want to be clear. Our job is to convince our customers that what we sell them has value. I'm not going to try to teach you to sell things that don't have value, because I don't think any of us want to do that. And the reality is everything has value. Diamonds actually do have some value, of course, whether we use it in industrial purposes to cut glass or whether we use it as a sign of affection. Of course it has value, maybe just not monetary the way we think. So the background here is that we want to help our customers realize the value of our products, not fool them into thinking that our products don't have value. Okay? So we'll start off the definition of marketing, if we want to take a look up here. The process of creating, distributing, promoting, and pricing goods, services, and ideas. Now, I'm going to stop right there for a second, because when I first studied business, we only talked about goods and services. So what is an example of a good, if we're selling a good? Yeah. Okay. What about a service?
It's like maybe housekeeping.
Yeah, so somebody cleaning something. And later on we'll talk about the differences between those two. But something that's much more profound these days, something that's much more interesting, and something that's much more powerful is ideas. The idea of creating, distributing, promoting, and pricing ideas. Can you think of an idea that someone has tried to sell you recently?
How to open a business.
There you go. They've done a very good job. They've got enough of you here that they sold it to me, and I'm here too. Anybody else? What other ideas can you sell to people? Because there are some business people who say, oh, I don't need Robert Madronic to teach me how to do marketing. I can do it myself. Right? What other sort of ideas can we sell? How many of you change the oil in your car as often as you're supposed to?
Change what?
The oil in your car. We don't. No one has convinced me that it's a necessary thing. So the idea of changing my oil every 3 months is just not something important to me. Anything else? Is there another idea someone has tried to sell to you recently that you weren't buying?
Books.
Books? Books are a good one. You see books about all sorts of topics. Some of them you look and you say, that's interesting, I'll buy this book. Other times you look and you say, I don't care what Kim Kardashian is doing today. We're not going to buy that book. One of the interesting things in Canada, I don't know if this happened to you. When I lived in Canada, every so often on a Sunday morning, somebody would knock on my door. And when I would open it, it would be 3 men dressed in black with a black tie holding a book. What do you think they were trying to sell me?
Holding?
Sorry?
What
He was holding a book,
Oh, okay.
a specific book. Mormons. What were they trying to sell me? Yeah, they were trying to sell me a new religion, like it was baked goods. So that's the thing that we think about. And this is, believe me, you will not see anything stranger than someone trying to change your religion while you're having an Egg McMuffin. So these are the three big things that we look for. And I would suggest that by the end of this seminar, you will attach ideas to your goods and services in order to give them some of the value that we talked about with diamonds. So when we talk about a diamond, if I just show you a shiny piece of glass, you're going to say, what is that? But if I tell you the idea that if you give this to somebody, it shows affection, now you really have something. Okay? So we want to do these to facilitate satisfying exchange relationships. We exchange these things hopefully for money or something similar, and to develop and maintain favorable relationships with stakeholders. So hopefully we're going to have long-term relationships with the people we do business with, so we don't just do it once. If we only do it once, we probably didn't do a very good job. And the last part there, this all takes place in a dynamic environment. So an environment that's constantly changing, and in Qatar it changes a lot faster than it does in Canada. And so our key, the tricky part of all of this, is to keep our plan, our marketing strategies going so we can serve our customers in an environment where a lot of the rules change, where a lot of the competitors change, where a lot of the needs and wants of our customers are changing. So for example, even if you look at the temperature alone, the sort of products and services you can sell when it's winter, when it's December, and what you can sell now, those things change. And that's, again, you know, sometimes when I ask people their biggest mistake, they start a business to sell things in the summer, and then in the winter they can't pay their bills. Okay? So this is how we're going to think about things. Instead of just thinking about how can I sell this product, it's going to be a bunch of sentences together. How can I sell this in this environment?
Just out of curiosity, regarding Bright, what was the first most successful marketing strategy, advertising?
They didn't say, but my guess is it was probably religion.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because when you think about it, and I don't mean to sound disrespectful, I'm Catholic, so I'll use Catholicism as a religion. If you can convince me that something exists without any real proof, and then motivate me to follow 10 rules so that I don't end up down there, even though I don't know down there actually exists, that's pretty good marketing, wouldn't you think? Right, and so that's what I think it is, and at least that's when I was going to school. One of my professors, he did his research in the area of religion and changing people's attitudes towards religion, and he said that religion is the best marketing because, you know, if I convince you to buy a product because it'll make you feel good, how powerful is that compared to convincing you to do good so that you'll live in paradise for the, you know, after you pass away? That's a much better reward than, you know, ooh, this Coke is refreshing. So that's the idea. But yeah, okay. We'll move on here now. Some of the sort of rules about marketing, and we'll kind of gloss over these because I think most of this is common knowledge for us. Marketing focuses on the customer. So you mentioned that one of the issues you had was focusing on your own company first, making sure you're profitable, making sure you're selling the sort of products that you want to sell, which is reasonable. Many of us, when we think about businesses, particularly with something like fashion, you might say, I like these types of fashions, so I'm going to try to sell them here. Perfect idea. There's a Tim Hortons over at Esden Mall, probably because someone realized, hey, I was in Canada, Tim Hortons tastes pretty good, I'm going to try to sell it. There's nothing wrong with that idea, of course, but from an educational standpoint, it's not the most effective way to do things. The more effective way is to think about what your customers want and then sell them that. Okay, marketing deals with products, distribution, promotion, and price. We call that the marketing mix. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Oftentimes, distribution is also just called place, so we call it the 4 Ps. Sometimes we have another P in there. Does anybody know what the other P is? What's something that's missing from there that you probably notice a lot when you go to restaurants? When you go to a restaurant, most of the time, sorry?
Publicity.
Not exactly. That's actually part of promotion. I'm thinking of people. People service. And often, that's one of the things that differentiates people or businesses from others. So I can think of 20 restaurants in Qatar off the top of my head that have excellent food. Not very many of them have excellent service to go with that food. And that's a shame because if I'm willing to come to your hotel restaurant and pay $80 for a steak, I expect it to be there on time and I don't want a thumbprint on it. So that's part of the service that we want to think about. But we'll talk about that again a little bit later. Marketing builds relationships with customers and other stakeholders, very much like how we build relationships with our friends and family. By doing nice things, by reciprocating, by helping each other out. So if I sell you products that make your life a little bit easier, and I do it in a nice way, you're much more likely to come back to me. Have any of you walked into a store where you knew they sold something you absolutely had to have, but they were just not nice to you, so you went and bought it somewhere else? Yeah, we all do that. And was it something expensive? Oftentimes it is. I can't tell you how many car dealerships I've walked out of in my life. I'm willing to spend 40, 50,000 Canadian dollars. And they talk me out of it because they don't want a relationship. They want to get as much money right now as possible. Okay? And then, of course, the most important one, marketing occurs in a dynamic environment, an environment that is constantly changing. So again, you know, just because of our place sort of almost in the middle of the world, I guess that's why they call it the Middle East, we have things coming and going from one side, things coming and going from the other, things coming and going that way, sometimes even that way. And so all of those things can change very, very quickly and impact how we do our business. Something as simple as, you know, the price of glass in some other country, or a new rule about how thick glass has to be. In Canada, we have what we call R values. I'm sure you know what that is, how much heat the glass retains. What if the Emir one day says, okay, from now on, we can't sell any glass unless it's R10? That might be a problem for some companies, okay? So when we're looking at this, the two that we want to think about the most is products, the marketing mix, because this is essentially our strategy. This is how we do our job as marketers. And then the environment is where we do our job. So no matter how we want to do our job, right? I want to sell high-end real estate for low prices, but that doesn't do me any good in Toronto because low prices don't exist there. So I have to adapt my strategy to the environment. And that's really the entire idea behind how to be successful in marketing. Okay, so according to the marketing concept, or the basic idea of marketing, an organization should try to provide products that satisfy customers' needs. We know that. Oftentimes, companies will go a little bit further and try to create a need. Okay, can you think of any products or services in Qatar where they're trying to create a need that people really don't have? Think of anything like that?
Kids party services.
Yeah. Who doesn't know how to throw a party for the kids?
Not anybody.
That's exactly right.
They do it, and you can't do it without them.
That's
Because everybody's doing it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I would also suggest having a cleaning service. In Canada, in our culture, we don't have cleaners coming, and we certainly don't have them living in our house because the law, right, dynamic environment, the law, we have to pay them a lot of money. A cleaner can earn as much as somebody who works in a factory. But then, you know, my family, we came to Qatar, and my wife is like, we can get a cleaner for nothing. I don't want to clean. And so all of a sudden, we have cleaners. Don't need them. I have 3 children. Why aren't my children cleaning? I give them money anyway. They should be cleaning. Okay? They should do this through a coordinated set of activities so that it allows the organization to achieve its goals. And the coordinated set of activities is, once again, the marketing mix. And the major focus, of course, is customer satisfaction, making our customers happy. Okay, now we're going to do a little discussion after this. It's in your books. Does everybody have one of these things? Okay, perfect. The history of marketing, I guess we can call it, has gone through 4 stages in general. Now, this again is, you know, if we're looking back from the most accomplished marketing companies. The first one is what we call the production orientation. And this is the idea that if we build it, people will buy it. Okay, so for example, Henry Ford, when he made the Model T, one of his famous quotes was, "We have any color you want as long as it's black." So the idea was, we just make cars. If you want one, come and get it. That's pretty much all we do. Okay, can you, actually we'll get to the questioning later. Okay, the next one is the sales orientation. The sales orientation is, we make these products, but not enough people are coming to buy them. So let's go out and try to talk people into buying them. And this, of course, is something that's fairly common. This is why we have salespeople. Then we have what we call the marketing orientation, which is where most companies are right now in terms of how they operate their marketing function. So the marketing orientation is where we actually consider what our customers want, the environment in which our customers live and we operate, and then what product, price, place, and promotion we can give to them to make them, or not make them, of course, to encourage them to give us their money. And then the more advanced one, the one where the most successful companies operate, is relationship marketing orientation. The idea that we make certain sacrifices for each individual sale to build a long-term relationship with our customers. So for example, if Qatar is selling gas to Japan, it's not enough that Japan just signs one contract. We want Qatar and Japan to be allies so that they will always buy gas from us. So that way they'll always have gas, so their people have energy. We'll always have money, so our people can take that money and buy the things that we need. And that's really the best sort of way of doing things. That was one of the first lessons I learned when I was a landlord, is oftentimes I would have arguments with my customers over small things. Little things like if the stove isn't working quite right, or they're missing a plug in the bathtub. And I would always say, well, there was one here when you moved in, what's the problem? And they would get upset. And I would think about it, and I would say, a little plug, how much does that cost? $2. Why would I leave my customer unhappy for only $2? And so I started doing all of those little things. And what would happen is at the end of the school year, rather than me having to use the sale orientation to sell my house, the students were coming to me. Do you have any other houses? All of my friends want to live together in one of your houses because you're such a great landlord. That feels really nice. That's a really nice thing to have. And you don't have to spend any money on advertising. So even if you lower your price to get the relationship going, you save that money because now you don't have to advertise as much. And that again is part of strategy. So in your book, or just on a random piece of paper, let's think about products or services or ideas in these 4 categories. So I'll give you a few minutes just to sort of think about it. Try to write down one for each of these 4 steps, and then we'll go around the room and discuss them. So I'll just give you a couple of quick minutes, and I'm just going to see if there's any water out here because my thumb. Okay, who would like to give an example of a product or service in the production orientation?
Tissue boxes.
Sorry?
Like tissues.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, for the most part, I don't get a lot of advertising for it. I don't think about it too much. I'd say that's a good example. Anybody want to add to that?
Disposable stuff
Like what?
into my domain. The beauty gloves, the headbands, the hair cups, the bed rolls, the disposable towels.
Yeah, so usually the sort of things that are really cheap in Carrefour, that we don't even look at the brand name, that kind of stuff. Is that what you mean?
No, I mean as a professional use.
Oh, okay.
I'm not talking for home use as 1 or 2 pieces. I'm
Okay, yeah.
talking about
Okay, perfect. I often, when I think of the production orientation, I think of things like oil and gas, right? Like in a big way, because nobody ever says, we need oil. Let's get Qatari oil, it's better than Saudi oil. What's the difference? There's no difference. Although ironically, when you think of water, apparently French water is better than German water for some reason. So that's production orientation. How about sales orientation?
Real estate, like apartments.
Yeah, for the most part, real estate doesn't yet have the same sort of branding as a lot of other companies. Now, I've read stories that in Dubai, they are branding real estate like Fendi apartments and stuff like that, and they're getting a 30% premium. If you're, I don't want to be judgmental, but if you're spending 30% more because your building says Fendi on it, I believe you might be taken advantage of. Doesn't make much sense to me. Unless it's, if it's designed by a real designer, maybe it's better, but my experience tells me probably not. Sorry?
Like share time in real estate, is that considered as sale orientation?
Share time? Like a timeshare? Yes.
Or time?
Yeah, a timeshare, this is where you buy the rights to visit a resort for 1 week. Yeah.
Like
Have you ever been in one of those sales presentations? It's brutal, isn't it? Yeah,
they
there.
convince you get out, you just sign it.
Yeah, it's a perfect example, actually, of a sales orientation. In the past, most of the time they've been real estate that otherwise you would never buy. Nowadays, people have smartened up, and Marriott has them, and it's a Marriott resort that you would go just on vacation like a regular hotel. So buying it's not such a big deal. But in general, it is a sales orientation, and it's a very scary one, isn't it? It's very similar to when you go down to the souks or when you go to I was in Hong Kong and I went to, you know, a little street market, and everybody's selling the same things, and I end up stopping at the one who's the boldest. Like, oh, special price for you. Okay, so my price is better than the hundreds of people. And I like to buy fake watches, like fake Rolexes and whatnot. And everybody always says, okay, sir, this is the cheap one, but this is the really good one. But they look exactly the same. They're trying to sell me something. Like, are you telling me that this one was made in a better factory in China? It doesn't make much sense. But I think we have the idea there. Okay. Now, the marketing orientation. We probably all know products there. Anybody new? Somebody hasn't said something?
For me, each time you go from production, sales to marketing, it's from a need to non-need the product. Like in marketing, I can think of food, beverages, maybe restaurants.
Mm-hmm. Phones. Yeah, definitely. You guys probably think that you can't live without your phones. When I was very young, not even very young, when I was your age, I didn't have a phone, and I got along just fine. I like my phone, but yeah, it's definitely a need, and it's a marketing need. You know, they have to advertise those because, let's be honest, at this point, smartphone is a